Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
Okay, I'm going to explain what old mate Eisenhower meant by military-industrial complex. I'm going to do it in a kind of flowchart, hierarchy, sort of timeline way, chuck in some graphs for good measure, and have some examples, and probably have to coin a few phrases of my own to help me explain what's going on here. And before I do that, I just want to give you these names just to keep in the back of your mind. Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon. Down here we'll put us, the people, you know, you, me, everyone. And then up here we have the government, and then manufacturers and like defense contractors, that's them. And the military is like the lubricant in the middle. Okay, as you know, we've got the government taking taxes from the people, and that's to generally pay for everything. You get your hospitals, schools, and of course, yes, military. And they also meant to make laws and everything to help us keep in order and civil. And your military takes orders from your government and recruits people. You need your soldiers. And then your defense industry makes everything your military needs, therefore getting money from the government. You see, that's why these two are well knitted together, because you can't have it go both ways with just the two. You wouldn't have the military giving the government money. That's what these companies do in the form of bribes, I mean political donations. And all these fat cats up here at the top, they get their extra bite of the stocks from these companies and everything. So they get subsidies and contracts and everything. What we get out of this deal is our, at best, maybe jobs, and to pay taxes. And up there, they get all that deal, but the money's one thing. See, now we've got all these war machines just sitting around, hanging out. You need a reason to use them, don't you? Okay, now I'm going to add another big player into this next layer of this complex. The media. People could see the devastation and brutality themselves from their own homes, and this didn't sit well with them because it was all still new and all still fresh, and the government was still yet to put restrictions and regulations on television like they could do with newspaper and everything else. So credit to them, they did try to do the right thing. They were on our side, but forcefully got turned against us. The general population, seeing what a waste and just how devastating war is, but you've got all these war machines you must use. So what better thing to do than take what was once informing the people to then twist their opinion so nothing but consent. Just make them say what you're doing is right. Remember that back in the day? Remember back when that to twist the truth or straight up lie? Or let's go back, shall we?
Iraq's behaviour has been in relation to the weapons of mass destruction has been offensive to many countries, including the United States and Australia, but the question of any action by the United States is a matter for the United States, and I've indicated before in Australia, and I repeat now, that if there are any approaches made to Australia, we consider them in the circumstances at the time if they occur.
Yeah, I told the Prime Minister there are no war plans on my desk. I haven't changed my opinion about Saddam Hussein, however. I told John we'll use all tools at our disposal to deal with him.
Yeah. And then 9/11 brings on the war on terror, which is a really good surface reason why. Nobody's going to argue, especially when you can still give off the one side you want your people to see, get them all to rally behind you. Okay, so we have your media feeding the people propaganda to make them hateful or best indifferent, so they keep paying their taxes and funding this massive murder system. By now, most of the government's in the back pocket of the defence contractors, and the media will also be with them because they have fat stacks of cash. So your media will be telling you that there's nobody greater than anyone in your armed forces, and whoever they're attacking definitely deserve it for some reason or another. But then you see a spanner was thrown into this work and disrupted the other cog in this system known as the people. We were gifted the internet, and because it's not so one-way street like mainstream media, you could find ways to not just be told propaganda. And more people can contribute, you're more likely to find out the actual facts. Okay, and now I'm going to show you what the end result of feeding the people bullshit for so long can do, and in doing that I'm going to introduce the other big player in this money murder mess fest.
The oil. Are we taking the oil? You know, in the old days you had a war. You ever hear the expression, to the victor belongs the spoils? I said, if we're to leave it, take the oil.
Ah yes, that's right. Last big player I'm writing down here is, we'll write it down as resources, because for now it would be oil, but who knows, down the track it could just merely be freaking water, maybe. So, yeah, these guys pay these guys to just fuck with us, essentially. People being the people all over the world, the ones that have their homes destroyed by drones. There you have it, we've got the timeline of how everything progressed to the point where we went in a couple of decades from being warned about the possibility of this happening to this.
I would not be in favor of stopping a country from spending $110 billion, which is an all-time record, and letting Russia have that money and letting China have that money, because all they're going to do is say, that's okay, we don't have to buy it from Boeing, we don't have to buy it from Lockheed, we don't have to buy it from Raytheon and all these great companies. We'll buy it from Russia, we'll buy it from China. So what good does that do us?
Okay, there's a lot going on here, and there's a lot of things at play that I'll probably give a lot more time and attention to in their own videos, because we've got corruption, we've got suppression of the people, wealth inequality, and just capitalism running itself into the ground, and the media, taxes, law, war, just America's hypocrisy, oil, which then, you know, can lead to the climate change. I've already done a video on that. The last thing that I've already mentioned in this and that we need to go back to is the internet, and how I think it's really underestimated in such an important part it can be in all this. Because you see, with that, it makes it a lot easier to like sniff out and call out bullshit like this.
America's actions are legal. We were attacked on 9/11. Within a week, Congress overwhelmingly authorized the use of force. Under domestic law and international law, the United States is at war with Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and their associated forces. We are at war with an organization that right now would kill as many Americans as they could if we did not stop them first. So this is a just war, a war waged proportionally, in last resort, and in self-defense.
Self-defense. America has the biggest military on the planet, where if you got South Korea, Germany, Japan, the UK, France, India, Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, put them together, you might be able to match the US. To be safe, just to cover any additional spending they've added, maybe chuck in Italy, Australia, Brazil, and Israel just to be safe. Not even kidding. You can look it up yourself. And this leads me to one of my last points on this, where America has such a ridiculous military, and they will come after you for your resources, or because you looked at them funny, whatever the fuck they want. So then this has led to other countries getting a massive arsenal and nuclear weaponry just to hopefully deter them. So yeah, I've called this outer layer of this complex the global deterrence complex, or the USA is fucking insane complex, or the USAFIC for short. Like, if we put all this effort into something better, like, imagine if we put all of this effort into making the world a better place instead of murdering each other for profit. It's ridiculous. Now, my final point on what sort of kicked me off to this is looking at the Australian list of ministers and noticing that we had a Minister of Defence, which makes sense, and then noticing that we have a Minister of Defence Industry.
Members on my left, the Minister for Defence Industry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And, you know, the extraordinary thing about the Australian Labor Party on this issue is that they don't even have a Minister for Defence Industry. The Australian Labor Party has no track record at all when it comes to investing in the build-up of Australia's defence capability. The Australian Labor Party lacks any goodwill at all, frankly, when it comes to making sure that the billions of dollars that the coalition is expending in the defence portfolio goes towards creating jobs.
I'm going to leave it there. Oh, you know what? I'll just add one last sort of thing at the end of this. We complain about high petrol prices. Don't worry, when they fuck up Yemen enough and get whatever they're doing there, I'm sure it'll go down. Or I'm pretty sure US soldiers in Somalia, they've got a lot of oil. So just wait for more innocent people to be murdered, and the price will go down.
Not specifically on this issue, just in general, let's put it this way: money trumps peace sometimes. In other words, commercial interests are very powerful interests throughout the world.